uncut. Can't get enough. The truth ain't holding back. This ain't no bluff. You are deserving that. Sometimes it's rough. No, I ain't holding back. Cause this is uncut. This is uncut. This is uncut. No, I ain't holding back. Sometimes it's rough. This is uncut. This is uncut. The truth is deserving that. This ain't no bluff. This is uncut. This is uncut. Can't get enough. The truth ain't holding back. This ain't no bluff. You are deserving that. Sometimes it's rough. No, I ain't holding back. Cause this is uncut. This is uncut. This is uncut. No, I ain't holding back. Sometimes it's rough. This is uncut. This is uncut. The truth is deserving that. This ain't no bluff. This is uncut.
Good afternoon, Turks and Caicos. Thank you for joining for another episode of Uncut. Bear with us for a few moments as we allow Mr. Kyle Knowles, who is our guest today, to join in on the live.
This is uncut. Can't get enough. The truth ain't holding back. This ain't no bluff. You are deserving that. Sometimes it's rough. No, I ain't holding back. Cause this is uncut. This is uncut. This is uncut. No, I ain't holding back. Sometimes it's rough. This is uncut. This is uncut. The truth is deserving that. This ain't no bluff. This is uncut. Can't get enough. The truth ain't holding back. This ain't no bluff. You are deserving that. Sometimes it's rough. No, I ain't holding back. Cause this is uncut. This is uncut. This is uncut. No, I ain't holding back. Sometimes it's rough. This is uncut. This is uncut. The truth is deserving that. This ain't no bluff. This is uncut. This is uncut. Can't get enough. The truth ain't holding back. This ain't no bluff. You are deserving that. Sometimes it's rough. No, I ain't holding back. Cause this is uncut. This is uncut. This is uncut. No, I ain't holding back. Sometimes it's rough.
Oh, yeah.
Happy Saturday, Turks and Caicos, and thank you for joining in on another episode of Uncut. And this evening we have with us none other than Mr. Kyle Knowles, who is the PNP representative for ED10, which is Wheeling and West Caicos, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Of course, we know that you are running in this upcoming election. My very first question, of course, is I know it couldn't be easy for you to give up your short income, especially with having such a young family. What prompted you to make this decision?
Well, it wasn't an easy decision, but there comes a point in time when, as young people, inclusive of millennials and Gen Z, we have to take a stand, or we have to take a certain position as to what we would like to see happening in our country and the role that we want to play. And we have to do it while we're still young. We don't want to wait until we've already moved ahead in life and we're not as young as we would have liked to be, but still taking the affairs of our country serious and being a part of the decision making, making a conscious decision to be a part of it, and solidifying our role in the framework, which is government, which would ultimately dictate what our future will look like, from a legislative and policy standpoint, and just wanting to really, you know, change the way that we're doing things within our country, and inspiring others to do the same, like yourself, hopefully in the future.
Yes, and of course, excuse me. Of course, we always hear you passionately talk about the community of Wheeling.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure by now we're all aware of many of the struggles that Wheeling has, and one of those is the dump issue.
Yes.
We know the effects that it's had on the residents in the community, and what is your plans to alleviate this problem? Because it's easy to complain about it, but
Mhm.
we now want to hear about solutions.
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely what you said at the beginning of that question is very so much what drives me is, we complain about a lot of things, but we have to start looking towards what those solutions are. As you know, the issue with the dump that is located in our constituency really boils down to a mismanagement of the dump. And when I say that, um, it's been a sore point for a very long time. Um, from a solution standpoint, the immediate fix would be an aggressive approach to how we would, you know, manage the dump as it stands right now. But secondly, we have to look at the long-term solutions. We know that we market sun, sand, and sea. So we love to look at a more um, energy efficient way, a more green way, looking at recycling, looking at how we can tap into the various environmental aspects of a changing world, getting the right machinery, getting the right resources, the sufficient funding, because I think that plays a significant role, because that whole industry isn't cheap. It's not cheap to operate. So a serious government, which I believe is the PNP party or the PNP government, will make sure that we tap into the right resources and that we look at how we can diversify and create a more energy efficient landfill, making sure that recycling is not just a term or a phrase that we use, that is something that becomes a part of our daily life, because we have to be careful, or we have to look at the way we dispose of our trash. We have to look at the way we dispose of tires and metals, and what have you. So try, but and to be frank with you, there's no one set solution. There are many other options that we can look at. I think what we'd have to do is see which one works best for us in Turks and Caicos and tailor it towards our needs.
I think that's awesome because oftentimes when the question come up, the solution is to move the dump, which would just put the problem in another area and not really solve the problem.
Mhm.
Um, I see a question here saying, what are some of the top ways you guys are considering to dispose of it? And Jay, I think, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, from your
Mhm.
answer, it seems as if that is to find an energy efficient way to dispose of it, which at this point is not set in stone as to which direction it will be going.
Mhm.
But you guys are open to hearing everything out.
Yes, because I agree. Yes, you're right on track. I think because, like I said, there's no one fit solution. There's no one set solution. We do have to, or I have already started my homework as to what I think we should, the direction that we should go in. And then, of course, we want to get the best solution or resolve to this matter, because it has been a long-standing issue, and it has definitely caused the health of our citizens to deteriorate over the last few years. You know, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead of myself here, but again, we have so many persons or young people, young families in our constituency who are just tired of the smoke, you know, and regardless of it being the dump burning or the coal kill, whichever one it is, it's still a toxic gas going into the air that is making our lives very difficult.
Right. And this is a question from a viewer who asks, you're often deemed as a very shy person. Um, what made you want to come out of your shell and take on this huge responsibility of running a constituency?
Well, I would say, to answer that question, a lot of people, or those who know me best, know Kyle, know that I can be a very proactive person when needs be. I would have considered myself over the years being very reserved, because one of the lessons that was taught to me was to listen. You know, when you get into a room, you listen, you make your own assessments, you make your own choices as to how you as an individual want to move forward. Now, some persons would have liked to see a jump up and down person, who was you know, that kind of way. But in most cases, let's be truthful. Those people don't necessarily bring anything to the table, you know. So for me, yes, some persons might say, "Oh, he might be shy." No, I'm a bit reserved at times, but understanding that at this point in my life, understanding the seriousness of what is happening, not just to me, but to my country and to my community, why not stand? Why not take a position? Why not put myself forward to handle or take on these challenges? Because if I were to just sit home and worry about getting mine and not worrying, hey, that's their problem, our country wouldn't be any better off for it. So someone has to take a stand. Someone has to take a position as to, okay, this is what we would like to see happening in our country, and why not me?
There you have it, folks. He's reserved and not shy, so take the concept out of your minds. And it is awesome to see so many young Turks and Caicos Islanders, especially young men, not just young Turks and Caicos Islanders, young men stepping up to the plate. Because as we all know, for quite some time, Turks and Caicos has been losing a number of young men. We've seen the homicides, we've seen the figures rise over the years, and it seems to be a constant rise. What is your plan to try to save the men in your community? Because of course we know between Wheeling and Blue Hills, it has been a hot spot.
Mm-hmm. Well, I one of the things that I think we need to move away from is when we use certain terminologies. When we say save them, I think we need to redirect them into the paths, or into the ways or the means that would be best fit for them. You know, a lot of them just want opportunities, but I want to just, you know, just say this, while since you asked the question. One of the major issues that affects them is that they can't get jobs, or they can't get employment, or they can't move on with their lives. A lot of the young men in my constituency don't have their status cards. And if you know, the status card is the document that would allow you to get a job, open a bank account, get your driver's license, get your passport, literally do business in Turks and Caicos. So a lot of them do not have that one document. And the fact that they don't have it, and the process right now is so strenuous, it really cripples them to the point where they would want to become law-abiding citizens. They would want to contribute, but the process is just so inefficient that it would put someone, their back is against the wall, and you literally make criminals out of them because they can't get on with their lives. So to me, I would say, in with the citizens contract that the progressive national parties put together, we talk about digitization of government system. That is one way we can try to expedite the processing of this document, so that it would allow them to be able to put themselves in a position of, having gainful occupation, getting the necessary legal documents to move on with their lives. But again, we need to put our money where our mouth is. We hear the youth, the youth, the youth, the youth, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. I'm here to really put some more action behind it, providing the necessary opportunities. We talk about apprenticeship, in our citizens contract. We should have put this apprenticeship program in place a long time ago. It's not as if we don't know what is happening with our young men and women. Not everyone is going to be academically inclined. For those who have special talents, we need to provide the resources for them to channel it through those means. We have those who would want to go off to college and continue their education. Well, the PNP is big on scholarships, and we want to make sure that they have the opportunities, because again, we don't want our children graduating from high school and going right into the workforce. Not saying that it won't happen, but graduating high school, the only question they should have is which college I'm going to, be it the Grand Turk campus or the Provo campus, or going abroad. So in putting these measures in place, that's just one of the ways that we can definitely make sure we redirect them into the ways that will ultimately trickle into less crime, less, less and more productivity of these young men and young women of our society.
The apprenticeship program is awesome. I think that is more targeted to persons who have just came out of high school. What about those persons who have already started going down the wrong path, been to prison, and now consider themselves rehabilitated and want to enter the community? Do you seek to expand on the existing programs which provide jobs for them?
Most definitely. I think we can do a better job at how we integrate these persons coming out of the prison system back into our society. I think whatever we as a government will have to do to bring about this reform is long overdue, and it needs to happen more sooner than later, because we realize that it's a very hard transition. It's a difficult transition, and most citizens are not very receptive to onboarding persons who are previously incarcerated. So I think from a social standpoint, we have to do a better job at how we onboard these individuals, and with the government support, we can do just that.
As you know, I do pay attention to the comments as we are interviewing, and I will give you a chance to defend yourself. There's someone who's claiming you are not a blowhard politician, whatever that means. Please explain to the people why you have the backbone to support them and you're able to represent them well in the House of Assembly.
Well, for those who know me, I've been a Rotarian for the last 7 years, and the motto of Rotary is service above self. Simply put, I've been involved in championing the greater good, right? Stepping in those times where persons are in desperate need of help, stepping in and providing the resources, or stepping in agitating for certain things, on behalf of others. I think at times people get caught up in the rhetoric of, someone who is willing and able to work, posting things on social media and what's that all the time, not understanding that, you have to still respect individuals and their privacy, but that does not negate the fact that you're working behind the scenes to bring about a better way of life for not just one, but for all. Too many times, even as young people, we get caught up in, we love social media, we like to post and this and that, but as we go about our daily life, we understand that we have a responsibility morally and socially, to not just us, but to our countrymen. And it doesn't take much to do the right thing. We just have to do it, and not expect any reward for it. But if you are able to do what you love to do, and I love to help people because that's the way I was brought up, if and if you have the means of doing it, then we try our best to make it happen. But again, I believe that I am properly positioned at this time to take on the responsibility as a young man in Turks and Caicos, as a Turks and Caicos Islander, because if we don't take the stance now, how do we expect to get to the next level? Because we always say they don't know what we want, they don't talk to us, they don't listen to our ideas. Why not have someone who understands what we're going through, who is actually going through it, who would like to see all of us win, because it's a big pie. Everybody want a piece of the pie, you know. So that has literally been my position.
In one of your recent ad campaigns, you highlighted the fact that the Wheeling community does have a lot of squatters. Of course, we know that there are Turks and Caicos Islanders that also squat, but we also know that the reality of the situation is the bulk of it comes from illegal immigration. And since this is a hand-in-hand problem, what do you seek to do to solve our immigration problem? As majority of us know, our premier blatantly told us that she can't stop the sloops. So what is it on your position of getting us into some sort of border security?
Well, that's a heavy question you asked me. But nonetheless, I think we have to be practical in this sense. It will definitely take a collaborative effort from all government entities, because of the magnitude of the problem. We do know that we do have a manpower issue. We need more resources. We need more training for our civil servants, or our frontline workers in that regard. Our immigration officers need the support. Talking to a few of them, they would like to see SPICE reinstated.
I was about to ask about that, actually. We'll come
Yeah.
back to that.
No, but because again, we need to have effective operations, or effective, mechanisms in place if we are going to be serious about the problems that are plaguing us. And I can tell you, being in Wheeling, some mornings you get up and you would hear, oh, there was another one in Northwest Point. Oh, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, when does it stop? So if that means we have to set up an additional radar station, or we have to, or expand on our task force, we have to really, take it in hand and do the right thing.
Yes, definitely. So just to go back to the SPICE question, of course, that has been something that has risen over the years on multiple occasions where people would speak about it. Is it the intentions not only to create something that was similar, even if it's not called something that is similar to the SPICE division, as well as an extension of it that will police the work permit holders when they would go home, whether or not we would have qualified Turks and Caicos Islanders who are ready to return home to fill those positions in an effort to bring our students abroad home?
Well, SPICE SPICE was set up to really enforce, the immigration laws in Turks and Caicos, right? It was never in place to tackle just one. It was never really in place just to tackle. Sorry, 1 second.
No problem.
Yeah, sorry. It was put in place to tackle, all of the different immigration issues that we had. Now, what I think has to happen is that we really need to, we would have to expand on it, right? Um, as far as having qualified persons dealing with it, I think in government we have there's a budget set up, or a fund set up for persons to you know get additional training. Um, I think we need to be more aggressive in that approach because, of course, we want to deal with persons in a very humane way. All right, because life is never easy. It always throws curveballs in your way. But again, we can educate our officers. We can upskill them. We can make them more confident in their processes, and also from top level down. Giving everybody the adequate training so that they can definitely go out and enforce the laws of Turks and Caicos as they should.
Yes, totally understand. Um, Previously we spoke about how do we save the young men of the community of Wheeling, but how do you intend to ensure the protection or the feeling of protection by the citizens in the community?
You know, in canvassing, you hear so many ideas as to what persons would like to see happening. Some persons want more cameras. Some persons would definitely, and me included, I would like to see more lights in our community because our community is very dark. So of course, if you were to go outside and you're not able to see in the front of your house, it's quite alarming because someone can literally be standing outside. So I would
Mhm.
say there needs to be more lighting. I would like to see expansion of the camera system, because if you look at various, and not that this doesn't just pertain to Wheeling, we have a lot of people who have bars on their houses with cameras all around. They have dogs. They have their gates up, and it doesn't feel like a home anymore. You get in and then you lock up. So we want to provide that kind of. We want to ease their minds a bit once they get home. Um, I would also say, sorry, I would like to push for that police station to come back into the constituency, because I think that's a focal point. The patrols are good, right? But nothing beats having the police presence. Since the police presence came out of the constituency, we saw that the criminal activity increased, because
Right.
the criminals know it's going to take them about 15, 20 minutes to get here, and 15 to 20 minutes in conducting or doing anything, um, or committing a crime is a very long time. you know so having the police presence within the constituency definitely will beef up the patrols, will beef up the response time. It would allow us as the citizens to feel a little bit more at ease, knowing that, hey, even if I were in distress, I can go right to the police station. you know those are the type of things that we have to get back, and it brings back a sense of community, because now the police and the community can start to work together on community initiatives where the police knows the persons in the community knows they have the support of the police, and vice versa. And it just creates a more harmonious relationship, which will ultimately affect or curb the crime, um, and drive out that criminal element.
What is your idyllic Wheeling?
I would like to see a Wheeling that has, or that will create its own robust economic system. I would like to see business plazas. I would like to see some aspect of the tourism industry come, and not just a little shop, like a marina and a resort, really tapping in and affording many of the Wheelanders opportunities to start their businesses, because there can be spin-offs. I would like to see at some point, with the expansion or the growth or development of Turks and Caicos, you know, sub government offices. Because if you look at it, I don't know how familiar you are, but you know, in days gone by, when it was time to go to school and you got to leave out the Blues and Wheeling, that was a very long line,
Mhm.
you know. So you could just imagine how many persons you would have leaving out of the constituency, But if we had our own grocery stores, our own, banks, our own government complexes, sports facilities, you name it, you can actually keep, you know, the revenue generating stream consistent, or have a robust system. And what that does, it affords persons from Wheeling with an opportunity to be the owners of these businesses, you know, and it gives them a sense of pride, because now I don't have to go to Grace Bay to make my money anymore and take care of my family or give back to my community. I give back to my community every day, because if I am a business owner, it'll behoove me to employ someone from my very own community who I know might not have a job. And that is how we can bring about the change that we've been so long talking about.
And let the people of Wheeling know why they deserve your vote. Why do you deserve to represent them in the House of Assembly, along with your five at large?
Okay. um, I would say that Wheeling has definitely been left out for far too long. Um, Wheeling had a cabinet minister as a representative, and you know how cabinet works. But again, the kind of leadership and the intuitive thinking and open-minded leadership that we need for this time, I believe that I possess those qualities. But because I would say, being a resident as well, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it happening for a very long time, or even at all. So why not, put myself in a position to champion this change and not promise anyone anything, but to say to them, listen, I am committed to working for you every day, so that not just that my life will be better, that your life will be better. Because we have a lot of people who are just down on their luck and just want an opportunity. Well, as a representative, I want to provide those opportunities, even if that means we have to go out and negotiate and bring opportunities to them from so that they can live a little easier. So these are the type of things that I believe properly, or makes me suitable at this time. I believe that the people just need a break. The people need to have something new. You know, they need action. They need force. They need to have someone with foresight, someone who is willing to work for everyone. You know, someone of integrity. So these are the type of things that I believe, the qualities I would say that I possess, and what Wheeler needs at this time.
There you have it, folks. That is your PNP candidate for ED10, Mr. Kyle Knowles. And we just want to say that we appreciate you for you being a young Turks and Caicos Islander, for you stepping up to the plate. I know that it wasn't an easy task to walk away from your short income, to step into such a vicious arena, but we do appreciate you, and we hope that if you are successful, that you will do well in House of Assembly. And Turks and Caicos, I cannot beg you enough to ensure you have your status card, ensure that you're ready to vote on February 19th, and get yourself prepared. If you do not have a ride, call your MP, call your potential MP, get a ride. I'm sure someone will ensure that you're there. It is important for you to go out and exercise your right to vote.
Yes,
No, you
yes.
don't have to vote, but it is your voice. What's the point of having a voice if you're not going to use it? And if you aren't registered in this election to vote, start your registration process very early. As we know, it is a very, very timely process, especially to obtain your status card. You have 4 years to make that decision to register to vote. Do not wait for the last minute. Even if it's not your intentions to vote, still register, because you just may wake up on election morning with the urge to vote. So it is very important for you to get out and register, especially my millennials, especially my Gen Zs, because we often complain about the affairs, the national affairs in our country. And it's no point in complaining if you don't have a say. So February 19th is a very, very short way to go. As we know, nomination day has just passed. And there you have it, Mr. Carl Knowles, your official MP. Sorry, your official
No, you on the
candidate.
right track. You on the right track. I like the way you talk.
Your official candidate to be your MP for ED10. Guys, please forgive me for that. Maybe it was some sort of prophetic reading. I really don't know. But it was a slip of the tongue. So there you have it. There, that is your official candidate to be your MP for ED10. Thank you so much for tuning into Uncut, and I will see you guys on Wednesday with our next guest, who just happens to be an independent candidate. And of course, we've heard so much about independent candidates, and I cannot wait to hear from her. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thank you so much, Rolandro. Have a good night.
You too.
Playing from Rolando's MacBook Air.